Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Paco Siller, and I'm here with our friend Aundre Larrow. Aundre, what's up?
Hey, man. How you doing? It's good to see you
Doing
again.
pretty good. Yeah, it's good to see you again. Aundre is no stranger of these live streams. He's been live with us before. He's a previous Adobe Creative resident, and he's going to be showing us some awesome photo editing magic on Lightroom, and that's going to be on mobile and desktop. So before I get into it, let me get my talking points that I usually got to hit. If you missed the stream before ours, make sure to tune into the Creative Encore with Julia Vaca. So again, Creative Encores are replaced, which means they have previously aired, but the live chat is still there. So you still got the community. And also, we're going to be doing the Artist Spotlight today. So if you have anybody that you want to recommend for us to maybe spotlight some point in the future, just go to that Artist Spotlight tab up top, and we will check them out. So that's going to be an hour and a half into the show. All right, without further ado, Aundre, welcome. I know it's a little bit of a crazy day today. So,
yeah.
Today
isn't ideal for many reasons. So I wanted to take a couple moments, if it's all right with everyone. First, thank you for choosing to spend time with me and Paco today. As you all know, Paco spends a lot of time, making other folks look good, bringing creativity and positivity in the lives of others. So if there's something that he has done that has struck you or inspired you, please let him know. I think too often in these streams, it's like, look how cool I am, when I want to make sure that Paco and the moderators feel that love. Which brings me to my main point. I wanted to take a moment for us to, keep the people of Ukraine in our thoughts and in our prayers. This morning, their reality changed drastically. That's about as much as I can say, but I want to take a moment for us, despite the fact that we're going to stream, despite the fact that, the engine of creativity, the engine of capitalism keeps moving. So we are going to get into streaming, but I didn't want to start this off without acknowledging that larger things are happening in the world. That's what's happening in the stream right now. If it's impacting you, someone in your family, or you just want to talk about it, please reach out to your community, to mental health professionals, and make sure you are getting your information from reputable sources. That will help us understand what's happening in the world right now. So I wanted to take a quick 20-30-second moment of silence for us to keep them in our thoughts and prayers and center the fact that creativity is important, but so is human life. So with that in mind, let's take a moment of silence. Once again, if you want to talk about this more, I'm not sure this is the avenue to do this, but find folks in your community and reputable sources as well as mental health professionals for you to speak with. We're going to get on with our stream, but by no means is this the end of our conversation about this. The second thing I want to...
Not at all. Yeah, no, I just want to reiterate that we're a community here. We're a creative community. I know I see a lot of people in the chat that have been with us for, I honestly say, years. I see our regulars. If you need an avenue to talk about this, the chat's there. I want to thank Aundre for acknowledging this. This is a very crazy thing to wake up to in the day, and I am glad that we are bringing awareness to that. So yeah, by no means does this mean that we're not going to stop streaming. We are going to stream and get to it, but the conversation can still happen, and we are here for anybody. So feel free to put your thoughts in the chat if you want to. I'll be there. I'm always looking at the chat. I'll be there to respond. We can speak about it. So yeah, it's a crazy day for all of us, and do know that you do have support from us here in this live stream as people, not just people from Adobe, but as people. They're actual human beings, and we're all affected by this. So thanks for bringing awareness to that again, once again, Aundre.
Cool.
And plug in the chat, be.net/Adobe Live. That's where I'll be looking. So if you do want to be a part of the conversation, that's where we're at.
Absolutely. Paco, in 1 second, I was curious if you could do me the solid in just about 4 seconds of pulling up my if you could pull up my desktop screen share.
Yeah, of course. Boom, there it is.
The second thing I want to point out is on my Instagram today, I'm raising money for the Black Trans Coalition. If y'all have time, money, interest, and you can donate to this, please let me know what you donate. I will match anything today up to $1,000
nice.
Because protecting everyone means civil rights for everyone. With all that in mind, let's get to the actual creativity now. I appreciate y'all's patience and understanding why this is important to me, and hopefully it's important to you. So, as we've discussed,
thank you for sharing that, Aundre.
As we've discussed previously, my name is Aundre Larrow. You can find me on Instagram here at Aundre. I've recently been blessed with a blue check mark, which means now people can drag me for being fake woke. Yeah, but really, what it means is I'm gracious now because people can't really steal my work and things. But in the past, some of my work, one thing I really love to do is I work on set with WQFL. Soon the new season I got to work on is going to come out, and I get a lot of questions about this. I want to take a moment. One of the things I do in the fall and the winter every year is I do set photography for this TV show. And what that means is I get to go on set and I stand behind cameras and I take photos that are used for promos for Hulu, for Netflix, and also for billboards. There was a TV commercial last year that was all just my photos. I can link to it. I can also show you just a touch of it right now, which is pretty cool. It's cool to see my photos used in this way. And this is just to say, as a creative, I didn't know this was an option for me as a job, and this is something you can definitely do. Your interests and your creativity will collide in a way that will make an avenue for you for your work to matter. It's not going to be everything you do. Keep in mind, this is only a part of my year, but keep at it. Whatever job you have now doesn't necessarily mean that that's the job you're going to have forever. Just find more ways for you to practice your creativity, because when moments arise like this, I got to be prepared for that because I was a journalism major in college and got to take photos for my student newspaper. So I was very, very ready for editorial stuff. So just want to encourage you and let you know that your work, no matter what you're toiling at, it matters for a reason. The second thing I wanted to shout out before we went any further is last year in Black History Month, I made a series called Equity Through Editing. And the point of this was how we can pay attention as photographers, primarily as visual artists, as well as designers, with not only how we're making sure not to abuse presets, but how we are taking into account exposure, undertones, color mix, all these things we can use to do a better job of editing Black and brown skin tones. The series is all here. You can also find it on my Twitter. And I will put a couple in my stories so you can check them out. But those are some active tools you can use after the stream is over, so you can make sure you're furthering your learning process. So speaking of furthering your process, and you didn't come here for old resources, let's get up on my phone for a minute so you can see what resources I have for you today. So phone's up, and you'll remember I had Miles for you yesterday. Shout out to who won that. And as a quick thing to remind everyone, once again today we're giving away a Creative Cloud subscription. So all you have to do is be active in the chat. A single comment enters you to win. And our moderators, much later in the show, will be very kind and randomized to pick someone. But our chat is better when folks are active and folks are engaged. So remember, just real quick, that I'll give you like a 3-minute, 2-minute refresher. The Lightroom mobile app, one of the coolest things about it is it has its own camera. you can switch between JPEG and DNG. DNG stands for digital negative. You can make a RAW file on your phone, which is something you can do natively with the iPhone 13 Pro. But if you don't have that, or the 13 Pro Max, you can still make one using the Lightroom mobile app. You can switch between automatic mode, which is, just take a photo automatically. You can also review the photos right here. Or you can go to professional, where you can, I'm gonna let Paco remind us what this is called. It's called focus.
Focus peaking. Yeah.
So if Sora, shout out to Kingdom Hearts folks, and Miles are buds, I want a photo where both of them are getting their, where they're both in focus. Well, let's say we want to do something more dramatic. How can I take a photo where Sora's in focus and Miles is not? By just sliding my focus peaking. If you look, you can see this photo pretty clearly. Oh, sorry. That Sora's in focus and Miles isn't. So focus peaking is kind of a cool way for you to be able to select specifically what's in focus, being Miles. The green lines around him tells you that Sora's in focus. And lastly, you can change your exposure compensation independent of your focus, which is pretty cool. So you can always reset from here. Lastly, you can still control your control your focal length going from ultra wide 12, wide 24, and tight 48, or your telephoto. And lastly, you have depth capture, which is pretty cool. It's the version of portrait mode you can get right here in the Lightroom app. So you can get the photos you want with a little bit more control. Just as a reminder, don't photograph everything in RAW, because if you do, you're going to end up with way too many things in your either online storage or your phone storage total. So just be selective about it. But this is just a reminder for the folks that either saw it yesterday and were confused, or the folks that didn't get a chance to watch yesterday's and now today's. Reminder that there are many people that are streaming over the course of the history of Adobe Live. I just get to be today. There are many other people before and after me. So when you can, try to watch those. They're super, super helpful. So let's get out of this and let's actually start today talking about editing. I mentioned to y'all yesterday that one of the coolest things about Lightroom Cloud is that, about Lightroom, not Lightroom Cloud, about Lightroom is that it allows you to have an interface that works across multiple devices, your desktop, your iPad or tablet, and your phone. So what's cool about it is, let's take a photo that I took this last year and let's edit it in a couple places and let's see what we get. We're going to be spending a lot of time talking about versions pretty soon, but to appropriately get to versions, we have to start with this edit. So allow me to just pick a photo. Here's a photo from a series I did when I was photographing a little promo when we came out with premium presets. So remember when we did a little tutorial yesterday, we talked about touches. One thing I didn't touch on enough was this little filter by button. It's a little triangle with a line in it. Just tap it on and off again. This is really helpful for me. You can look for kinds of photos. You can see all photos that took a RAW there. But the coolest thing for me is you can go search for edited or non-edited, because then I can go and say, okay, which photos are edited, and then which photos of those edits did I rate? So you'll see that this says, sorry for the math folks, this is greater than or equal to 1 star. So now you can see that goes all the way down to only 66 total photos. Now, if you check real quick, you can see camera. You see some of them are taken with my 12 Pro and some were taken with my Canon R6. So when you go through, you can see that I have photos that are sitting in here that were taken with my phone and photos that are taken with my camera. And I think it's pretty rad. And if you're not unsure, even after all that, you can go here and go to info and it'll tell you this is taken with the 12 Pro. So I like this photo of Maria, but let's pick a little bit more of a colorful one so y'all can get something fun. Okay, here's kind of a pretty dramatic photo of Maria. This one's going to be good for a use of color mix. Let me bring my brightness up a little so I can see it. Okay, so this is, remember if we tap and hold, this is our before, this is our after. So let's say we really love this edit. Before I even change anything else about it, I'm just going to show you that you can say this is a preset. So on this side, you'll see versions, profiles. We don't want all that. We want to go all the way back up here at presets, tap presets, go back. And we can see if we tap these 3 dots in the top right corner, we can hit create preset. We can save this as, what do we want to say? No. We'll say Adobe Live Day 2. and we can save preset group, and let's go to Behance Stream because that's where I save all the ones I have over Behance Streams. This allows you to decide what parts of the edit you save. I don't really like to save geometry because that basically geometry is like, Paco, if you cut to me for a second, if like there's a photo that's like me, like of this, like me, right? And geometry, I can just straighten it out. Rarely is the geometry the cropping or the angle gonna stay the same. So it's better to just turn that off. And honestly, I also will also turn off white balance. You can cut back because generally the source of your light is different. So turning off white balance, turning off geometry, and turning off optics, make sure that you don't like add in edits that are only specific to that image. Optics are basically based on the lens that you have. There's like chromatic aberration, or there's little like softness in the edges that Lightroom will adjust for. So if you just make sure that you have your optics, geometry, and your white balance off, you can save this. And now we have an edit that we like, which we can copy to different places. So that will come back later. But instead, let's go back and start at phase one. Remember we talked about versions? Let's go to versions. You notice that if we go to auto, there's all sorts of versions. There's a version from May 31st, 2021 when I photographed this. Then there's also the original. So I'm a big fan of just making a new version because I just want to remember which one I did. So let's call this Paco Edit 1. Oh, not Pac.
Autocorrect for the win.
Yeah, man. My phone autocorrects my name to sundresses. Or
Sundresses, that's fun. Mine is it's Taco. Who would have known? Very original.
You know, tech's gonna tech. So let's just work through this edit like we did yesterday, but this time on the phone, so you can see that the interface is the same. So why this matters? What I'll do is, if I photograph a big project and it's not COVID, what I would do is I would like finish the project. I would take the SD card, I put it in the card reader, I back it up. Remember, we talked about the naming structure yesterday. And then I would let it back up and go do other things, right? And then maybe if the photos aren't due immediately, the next day when I'm on the train or in a cab, I can sit and I can look through these photos and be like, I liked this. And I can go to the rate and review and then just go through and rate all the images that I want. That way, when I want to get back to the edit, I've already done my rate and review. And it's kind of a nice way to not sit at the computer all the time. I could take my phone to the park. I could take my iPad with me on a plane. And it's a little easier and it's a little bit less heavy process. Something I really enjoy is the fact that I can pick it up and put it down.
Work smarter, not harder. Yeah, I mean, I think all those tools there are there to make your workflow a lot more streamlined and efficient.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's sort of like a way, I think there's so many ways to pick selects, right? Like people do like color coding, star rating, whatnot. So there's no right or wrong answer, but it definitely helps you kind of pick up where you left off, as Andre said. So use those tools that are there for you to make your workflow nice and easy.
Little pro tip, make it easier for yourself by giving yourself natural breaks. If you walk to the park and you make selects for an hour, then you're much more likely in that little walk back to make your life a little bit easier. I would just advise you to like make sure that you understand that you be kind to yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one, folks. Get away from that computer. Take a break. Ease up on your eyes. And honestly, if you've been staring, like for me personally, if I do video production, I'm working on an edit for 3 hours. I take a break and I come back. You're like, what was I thinking? It's good to kind of have a nice little reset on your brain. Kind of helps you see things with some different lenses that most of the time can be beneficial.
Absolutely, it 100% can. So if we work through this edit, remember we talked about it yesterday. Exposure is kind of a hammer. Exposure brightens or darkens all of our pixels with impunity. And, that's not necessarily the best thing. So this is way too bright and this is way too dark. But let's address this photo and ask ourselves, what is it that we need? I personally think there could be some more contrast between the lights and the darks in this background with the bokeh, as well as I think that her hand and the side of her face are a little too bright, right? So to do that, instead of just darkening everything with exposure, because you see what's happening, it's making the darker side of her face dark also. Instead, I can bring my highlights down, and something to point out about highlights and shadows, like we said yesterday. Highlights, if you bring them up, makes them brighter. Highlights, you bring them down, makes them darker. Totally makes sense. But shadows, if you bring shadows up, doesn't mean the shadows get darker. It means they get brighter. And bring shadows down, makes them darker. Just a little pro tip. So if we bring our highlights down, if look at our before and after, you see we just get a little more detail, a little more color inside of Maria's face, in her hand. And then let's bring our shadows down a little bit too. But you can see that this is a dramatic difference from what we got with just sliding exposure down. Now I can bring my contrast up, and you're seeing now we're getting that little bit of contrast in these leaves we like without getting that muddy, too dark of everything exposure. I'm gonna just bring white down a little bit and bring black down a little bit, but essentially I'm just changing the white point to be a little bit darker and the black point to be a little bit darker. This is just, once again, to just take into account these like really white highlights and these really like, oh, that dark shadows on our hair. You notice this is what we're getting to, which is where we're gonna make our shadows a little bit warmer. But before we do that, we have to make sure our shadows are full, right? All right, so now we know that we can do this. Now our next navigation, so instead of having everything come down on screen, just like on the computer, on the phone, it's click by click. So if you notice here, you have the opportunity to go through color grading, color mixing, all this in the color tab. We're not going to go there yet. We're actually going to head over to texture and clarity, dehaze, which Paco and I talked about a little bit yesterday, about how sometimes dehaze, because it's supposed to kind of reduce atmospheric haze, if you start to go plus in the haze, it almost acts sort of like contrast. And so if you notice, even just this change, let's come up to our face a little bit more, from 0 to 10, can give you just a little bit of extra detail in a way that I find just a touch softer. I don't really know how to describe you fully what dehaze does. I've read the description so many times and I promptly forget, but I find this to be very, very helpful.
Yeah, it's like you said, it adds contrast, but it can almost be like contrast on steroids, you know. So don't overdo it with dehaze.
I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, I mean, that's cool. Some people are into that. Very moody, very aggro, as we were talking about.
Aggro, yes,
aggro,
very aggro. So we have that going on. Vignette basically adds a vignette in either direction. I don't need that here. I rarely use it, but so you know it's there. And then you can also add grain down here, which is nice for the folks that like emulating film. I think grain can be really nice. Are you team
grain?
I'm team moderate grain. You said I went to 14. I'm not trying to be out here, you know, acting like I'm photographing on, you know, 3200 Kodak, but you know, we do what we can. And then also just for detail, I personally find using texture to be a little bit more forgiving to skin. It adds texture to pixels versus using clarity and especially not sharpness. I try my very best to avoid sharpness when I can.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks for running that down. It's very helpful when you talk about the changes and what it's actually doing to the photograph and why you're doing them. You know, you can sort of get in the mind of Aundre and how he works his magic. So thank you for running through that.
My brain is a weird place, but you are welcome to join there. All right, so everybody, we're going to go back to color. And now remember, if we look at what we're trying to get to, you see our shadows a little bit more orange. So how do we do that? We talked about this yesterday, but now I think on the phone, it's easier for me to show you. I'm going to go to grading, blam, and what do you know? We're already at shadows. So
look at that.
Remember what we're looking for, something that's a little bit orange. So look, immediately that soft tap, look at this change now. Look at how quickly we can see how adding the shadows and give us that little tint we want. Essentially what we're doing with color grading is we are saying, if this is a spectrum of light, right? Just like a magician. Or do that, yeah. Our shadows are a large part of our image, just as our midtones and highlights are. So now we're saying that all of our shadows in our entire image are going to be tinted orange. So to do that, we go to color grading, and you see how this circle comes up, and this is a little easier for y'all to see because it's a little bigger. And so what you want to do is you can point at any point on this circle. And you'll see as you move around that your shadows are going to change color based on what you select in the color wheel. Other thing to point out is the further you get from the center, the more saturated the color becomes. The other way to know that is if you look at the top, it says shadows, hue 201, saturation 100. 201 is like, sorry for the math again, folks, but you see I'm moving, it's like the degree in the circle. Does that make sense? Like if you remember, go all the way to Z, because it's a circle, so it's going to go to 260 or 360. But if you go to 0, it's like that straight line is just counting all the way around. I wouldn't worry about the numbers so much. You can just kind of tap to where you're going. But your goal here is just for us to get something warm. So we're gonna get to this orange, but we know if we get too close, it's gonna get, I wouldn't say bad, just not what I need right now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're gonna get closer.
And I want to say, even you just messing with the slider with the shadow one, I mean, it really gives this photograph a whole different look, a whole different feel. You know, it's such an easy little slider, but you know, it kind of reminds me of the early days when everybody was all about the Visco presets, or everybody wanted presets, right? Yeah, and you're like, how do I get this preset? What's this magic behind it? And I mean, here we are. I mean, this is kind of getting into the entryway of to how some of those looks get, and it's just by messing with the color of the shadow, the tint, you know. So it's so much cool stuff to play around with here.
Color impacts mood, y'all. Color impacts mood.
Impacts mood.
What I would say is for this image, I've layered it. If we want to talk about, let's talk about this. This image, let me just slide this editor down, is warm on warm on warm. It's red. It's a red flower in your foreground met with a yellow top from Maria. Maria's a warm-skinned person that I photographed outdoors, and then I added warmth in the background. So all around, there is like a sense of tenderness, of closeness. This isn't the actual final select image I used. I will pull that up for you in a minute. But for me, I'm going warm to warm from start to finish. And that's important to me for what this image is supposed to feel. Makes me think of that. Tyler, the creator, says he makes songs that he wants people to feel a certain way. This photo to me makes me think of the end of Because the Internet with Childish Gambino, when he's singing his falsetto and he's like, "Hold me close, my darling." So anyway, this is taken in like actually a super small bush in this park that's like just a little bit further up in Bushwick. And I just tucked Maria in it. I photographed in the middle of the day, so I knew that the light would come through and it'd make the leaves look super dark. And it's kind of an interesting thing to compete with her hair and the leaves. And then on top of that, just giving them that tinge of warmth was super helpful. So if we go back to our color grade, like I said, we can like look how different those leaves get, even just switching from this down to red. And then let's just make it a little bit more saturated. Now it's too much, because now if you look at how her skin's changing, because remember, a part of her skin is going to be in that period also, because there are shadows on her skin. So now we have something we like. And just so you know, look how far we've come. This is our before.
Boom.
It's our after, right? We're already in a spot of mood.
It's looking good.
Rob's
got a pro tip for us.
Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, he says, sharpness helps in print, especially newsprint. A print softens things dramatically. My color correction and balance techniques have changed so much in the past 5 to 7 years. Thanks for letting us know, Rob.
Guy. We appreciate you, Rob. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Voodoo Val also for in here talking about what we need. Asa, I see you in the chat. If you could drop the Discord link, I appreciate that. But let's keep it going. So we are back. We're talking. So I personally wouldn't alter anything else about this, but I'm going to show you how these things can manifest. So remember yesterday we talked about when you're doing color grading, so it's important for you to balance if you choose to tint all your colors. So remember, we have orange. And so if I'm going to pick, oh, actually not, let's not do midtones. If I'm going to pick, oh my gosh, there we go. If I'm going to pick something to balance those shadows, I would actually pick a complementary color. So I pick something closer to a blue for my highlights, some kind of a soft blue, because it's something that's more pleasing to the eye. Once again, look at how it changes as I slide this up. Obviously, this is too much and I don't love it. So as you slide closer to the center, the less saturated the color is going to become. And I don't think this is super bad. I personally prefer this subtle edit because we already have so much warmth in there. But if you go back to highlights, I think that if we were to go double warm, it'd be a mistake. Like, look how overwhelming this is. It just feels like it's too much.
Double warm.
Yeah, it's like a double rainbow, but less of the fun viral YouTube-ness of it. And then midtones.
I met that guy.
Oh, what was he like?
A rainbow guy. He's what you'd expect. Yeah. So we met him out in some hot springs out in the California mountains. Good guy. Very nice guy.
How does he know? Well, how did you? I'm so sorry. Does everyone know what Paco's talking? Do you know what the double rainbow guy is? Does anyone? Do people know?
I think so. Let us know in the chat if you know. It's
if you don't, Paco, can you do me a favor as I'm talk about this more, could you pull that video up just for a second? It's like a 14-second video. I just am curious.
I don't know if I can legally play it.
Oh, okay.
But,
all right. Well, there's a guy.
We can encourage people. Just Google double rainbow, and there's a guy. It's a video that went viral, and he freaks out, and he asks the right questions. What does it mean? Yeah, it's a really funny video. But yeah, met that guy out in some hot springs just randomly camping. He is a very nice guy. A lot of energy.
Do you camp a lot?
I do. Yeah, it's a big reason why I live here in the mountains.
He doesn't live in the mountains. I've been to Paco's house. He lives in the streets.
Doing this just in Andre's backyard, just the next block over. You don't even know.
Something to call out. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but this is a big change in Max this year, and this is something else folks asked me about yesterday. And y'all didn't believe me when I told you could do it on your phone, so I'm doing it right now. Masking. So let's say instead of doing what I told you to, in terms of changing the shadows, you were like, I don't want to do that. I want to edit the subject and the background separately, and I don't want to do it the way that you showed me. Okay, cool. Instead, let's go to masking, hit plus, and let's not take a tour. We don't have time for all that. We can choose select subject, select sky, or use brush. There's other things we can do, but let's focus on those, right? So let's say we want to select our sky, which is everything but Maria. Let's see how intelligently this does this.
I'm curious to know how this picks it.
So it actually, it's going to choose her hand. Like, it's going to choose the hand. This is actually a bad example. So let me discard changes for this. We have this saved, and we're going to keep this. Let me just pick one slightly different photo team so I can show you. Where's this photo of Bria I'm looking for? 1 second, y'all. This is close to the top. Sorry. All right. So let's use masking. So the way masking works is using Adobe Sensei, which is Adobe's very secret, very intelligent super program that can like read things through math.
Read your mind somehow.
I'm sure that I'm describing that very poorly. If you hit plus, let's choose select subject. Let's wait. It's going to detect. And now if you just tap this little, you guys see this tiny little icon that popped up? It in the red let me know that it cut her out. It cut Bree straight out.
Did a great job in the hair too. I mean, that's
and her hair
used to be pretty dang hard to do.
It does a very bad job with black people. It used to, but now it's doing a great job. So now what this means is I can just edit Bree, or for my Photoshop users, I can invert the selection.
What?
Wait, hold on. Let me tell you again. Oh.
That was a good save, man.
Oh, brother. I'm so sorry. I got so excited. I tried to pull the mic down and tip
the camera came down. You saved it, though. Good catch,
Hold on, everybody.
Good catch.
Hold on, everybody. Sorry, everybody. What I was going to do is I was going to say... I'm sorry. Well, not without this, this is why we were doing it live.
It's live. That's how you know it's live, folks.
I really, I saw it moving. I was like, no. All right. So.
Someone in the comments goes, I just gasped.
Oh, brother.
It's all coming down.
The funny part is that the camera's right here, so it might have messed the screen up. So let me just go ahead and move this and get back to what we were doing. So what you could do is you can hit this little guy over here to invert your selection, which means I can start making edits to the background. So what can I do to that background? Well, just about anything I want to. I can make this background hella warm. I remember since Lightroom edits non-destructively, you can make edits and then just double tap on the circle. It goes right back to where you were.
Right.
You make the background hella saturated or make the background hella desaturated so that she really pops out. I can also change the hue of the background so it's more red. Since it's desaturated right now, it's hard to see. But the thing that was really helpful is, let's talk about, we were doing that layering of warmth. Notice how Maria was wearing very warm things. Bree is wearing much cooler things. She had a blue blazer on before this. So what would make the most sense for hers would be to change my tint so it's a little bit cooler. Not so much that it's dramatic. I'm not a big fan of making these like sweeping changes, right? Unilateral edits. I'm trying to make things that are building a subtlety for you as a viewer, right? All right, so let's also change our tint a little bit. So like, let's see our before and after. Oh, that's before, now we're in the after. Let's also, since we have a background going, let's add a little clarity, give it a little punch. And then this is our before, this is our after. See how it just gets a little bit cooler, right? And not in the like little things. Let's just make one more edit, or let's select again. Let's select subject again, right? And obviously, if y'all look down here on the right hand side, you'll see the way that layer masks work. This is originally a Photoshop concept, but the white is what's being changed, the black is what's not. So essentially, what you're doing is Adobe Sensei is selecting the subject, making them white on the layer mask. And so every edit you make will only go on this layer to the white part. And you can make additions to the white or subtractions. And this is something that we've done for a long time, layer masks in Photoshop. And if you haven't used Photoshop before, just know that you are already learning how to master it right here in Lightroom on your phone. All right.
On the phone.
So let's just make a quick thing. Let's make Breed just a touch brighter. Add in some contrast, bring our shadows down a little bit, not that much. And then very lastly, let's just make her a little bit warmer so she pops out. And now we have something we like. It's just a big difference. Look at this. She looks majestic. Our very last part of this edit that I would make is actually, I think these leaves are super distracting. Does anyone know how I can get rid of them here on my phone? Is it even possible?
I do.
But dude, I'm gonna tell you can't enter, like, you're not here.
I'll wait for the chat to see. It'll be about
I just checked the
so
chat.
start seeing some answers.
I just checked the chat. People gasping. Sorry, I was stressed. Yeah. I was like, oh no, but it's okay.
That was a great catch. While we wait for some answers, I gotta ask you. So the subjects in your photographs, I mean, this one's a beautiful photograph or pose. Do they just do this on their own, or are you giving them direction behind the scenes to capture these moments?
So direction is tricky. That's something that we should actually do for a stream at a different time, but I think that would require us to be on set together. That's what post-COVID will do it. But maybe I think direction can be tricky. Yeah. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out both what the environment is making space for and what the subject is comfortable with. So obviously you as an artist, like, you have the prerogative to make changes, right? You have the prerogative to give direction to your subjects. But if it's a subject you haven't met before, you should spend time studying them, paying attention to what they're saying, what they're doing, and understanding what they're comfortable with, so that when it comes time to posing them, they're not doing anything that's unnatural. I think that folks used to start and say, well, these are masculine or feminine poses. I wouldn't do that. I would say, you know, how does this person come dressed? So today, Brie had come with this coat. I had her like put it over this blazer, put it over her shoulder. I really like this because it kind of was opened out toward the environment, toward the world. And because her hair was straightened, it like gave me this like sense of direction with it. And she's wearing these like kind of vintage jeans. So everything is really pointing upward. That's my reasoning. Even like the little wrinkles we get from just wearing our normal things were all pointing upward. So I posted her in a position where her eyes, her body, everything was in line with these lines that are all leading us, you know, toward the sky. So I think
that's super cool to get inside your mind and talk about what actually goes into like getting this photograph, like, you know, the lines going in, the direction, even that extra headroom up top. You can tell that it's all sort of leading upward. So thank you for answering that. That's very awesome to hear. We do have some answers about what you can use to get back to it. So we got Andy saying the healing tool, and Jorge saying the healing brush or the clone. So I guess there's different ways to do it, right? It's a beautiful thing about these Adobe apps.
There are many beautiful ways to do it, but the reason why I waited is because I'm hoping someone would say healing or cloning, so I can explain why.
Wow, Jorge said both.
And then we're going to get over, do not worry, we're still going to talk about selling presets, we're still going to talk about versions, but I think it is so vital that we start on the phone so folks can understand they really have access to this wherever they are. So I clicked healing brush, which is right next to masking. And let's remember, oh, sorry about that, y'all. Let's zoom in. Remember, we're trying to get rid of this. So something to bring up, the healing brush, when you tap it, there's two options. There's healing or there is masking, or excuse me, healing or what's the other one called? Cloning.
Clone stamp? Yeah.
Forgot for a second. Either healing or clone stamp. So the healing, what it does is if you select the pixel and you say, I want to heal this pixel, it's going to sample pixels from another part of the image. But it's going to maintain the brightness of the original part. That sounds wild. So let me explain it again. Okay. Basically, you want to use healing for someone's skin, but if you're moving trash or like fixing trees, cloning is better. So what I mean is over here, if I select the clone tool and I start painting over this little area, trying to be precise as I can, you'll see that I am drawing from another all white area. So now if I select this, it's essentially gone. If you get in really close, you can see this little bump here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time trying to clean that up because I don't know if I have time for all that, but it's important that you see this. Now let's go with, let's keep this photo of Brie. Let's remember it. It's right here, 3 stars, blue background. Let's pick a photo of Maria's face. This is tough because I need to like go over my own face that has some more blemishes or something. Maria's too pretty for me. All right. Let's pick a photo of Maria's face so we can get in a little closer on. Shout out to Maria, by the way. Okay, so let's say we're being really annoying. We're a beauty brand and we're like, oh, like we think this tiny blemish is a big deal, right? I don't think it's a big deal. My ruling for editing with these things, y'all, is if it is distracting to the viewer, like I did a series called Nation of Newcomers, and it was focused on the fact that we all are immigrants from somewhere. And for that series, I photographed this woman and she just happened to have a breakout that day. So she had 3 really big pimples on her face and it was just really distracting. So I got rid of those. But generally like this doesn't really count, but this is the best thing I can show you. So let's go to healing. Now, if you use clone stamp, you paint over this. Oh, see, first of all, that brush is way too big. So let's do this. First and foremost, you want to tap here and reduce your size. I'll always
tapping and holding and dragging down at the same time.
Yeah, I'm tapping. So here we have the Band-Aid is healing. The little stamp is a clone stamp. This right here is our size. So you tap and you increase or decrease. Then the next thing is your feather, which I can never describe this properly, but essentially, if your feather is at 0, that means that everywhere you brush, the edit is the same. But if your feather's all the way up to 100 or higher, higher than 0, you'll see that like the center of it, the edit's the same, but the edges start to get a little bit softer. So it's a softer, more natural edit. So if I'm doing skin, I'll always use a healing brush. Use a healing brush, and then I'll use a feather that's at least like 50 or higher. So like let me make this a little bigger so you can see. Okay. Ooh. Let me make the brush nice and big. Oops, sorry. Okay, so you see this? If my feather is all the way at 0, you see how it's just a really hard circle? It's like, if you start to soften it, you'll see how the edges start to get softer. That means the brush isn't going to have as dramatic, it's not going to finish as dramatically. So if you swipe over a spot, the edges of the spot, so not necessarily what you're trying to edit, but the nearby things will still look closer to what they were versus what you're trying to turn them into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's got more of a soft edge than a hard edge. So the more feathering, the softer the edges, and it almost blends a little bit nicer around the edges, right? As opposed to no feathering, it's just a super hard edge, and it could be more noticeable with the changes you make with that.
All right, so let's make our brush size. Well, that's too big. Let's make our brush size a little bit bigger than that.
Reverb Mike says, feathers are our friends. I agree. I'm a fan of feathering too.
Sorry, y'all. I've made too many selects. All right. Let's try this again. So I'm just going to draw over this little area. That's a blemish. And you see how Sensei's trying to guess a similar area. But as you can see, this area I selected, the new edit is being sampled from a different area. So all I have to do is pick this area up and move it. And you can see how it's just moving the pixels slightly, and I let go, and it's just gonna paint over it. Very cool. So here's our before, here's our after. It's just a little bit more natural because what it's gonna do with healing is it's going to keep the brightness of that area. So for example, if I instead, let's say we think that for some reason, this like very normal part of her skin is not okay, which I disagree with. But let's say we select this, but we go from over here. You see that it's still trying to keep it so it still looks like the brightness of our skin there. If we change that to clone, look at how it literally is cloning the exact thing. It's just not right for skin. Cloning is good for those leaves, trash, things like that. We absolutely do not want to use cloning on skin. We want to use healing. We discard our changes and we're gonna keep moving. So Now we have reinforced what y'all already knew, which is that you can take excellent photos, not with your phone, but not only take them, you can edit them. But if you remember, we made presets. So let's make one more. I know I already taught you, but I'll show you again. If you go to presets, tap these 3 buttons. Let's create another preset. Let's make this Paco preset 2. And extra points for anyone who remembers what are the 2 things that I made sure to turn off that weren't the 2 things that I made sure to turn off when I was editing, or when I'm making presets. What are the 3 things that I made sure to turn off? And I just showed you, but let's see who.
Yeah, there was the answer. I was gonna guess 2. I forgot the 3rd one.
So man, even paying attention to me.
Very cool. We got Ulcar in the chat saying, "You all made me drink water now." Yes, drink water, people. Yeah, stay hydrated.
Yeah, we need to drink water. It's good for you. Good for everybody.
Remember, everybody, Aundre and ourselves here at Adobe Live are going to give away a Creative Cloud subscription later on in the chat. So make sure you are engaging with us. Make sure you're staying active. If you're lucky, you might just get a free 1-year CC subscription. We got Eduardo. He took a guess. I think he nailed it. He said optics, geometry, and masking. Were those the 3?
Yeah, he's right.
Nailed it.
You win nothing but my respect, but good job. We are going to move from phone over to computer now.
Let's go to desktop.
But once again, y'all, if you choose to follow me on the internet, I will put those links in later. But my Instagram is @Aundre. My YouTube, which has helpful live streams and also much shorter videos, is also @Aundre. Twitter, which is my Finsta, where I make jokes and try to heal the world, is my first and last name, AundreLarrow. And lastly, I have a couple folks I'm so thankful for that are here from my Discord. So if you are trying to join a creative community, and are already learning from Paco, already in the Behance and Adobe Discords, feel free to join mine also. There's lots of chatter about professional topics and things that hopefully can help edify you. So now
I'm going to give Aundre a follow and all the links. I'll post those links on the chat too as well, Aundre. So give him a follow. He does some really cool stuff personally. He's got a great heart and a bunch of things that he does. So shout out to Aundre. Give him a follow and all those links. I'll start posting some of those.
Isn't it funny, Paco? Don't these photos look similar? Didn't we just see them on my phone?
Hey,
y'all think I keep playing around. If you remember up here, which we tried to zoom, we couldn't figure it out yesterday. We tapped this. It's called Refine Search. It's not the triangle with a line in it, but whatever. And we go to Edited. What do we see? We see the photos that were edited. Now, how can we get back to the photo we edited? Now, if we just scroll, let's see. Let's change our greater than or equal to 1 star. And now, what's this? Is this an edit we just...
that looks familiar. That looks very familiar.
So if I were to just go to masking...
Funny how that works, huh?
If I were to go to masking, I wonder if the masking would be the... Oh, it's here!
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
And if I were to select this mask, it would tell me that my contrast is up, my shadows are down, and my temperature is up. So, like I said, the edits work all the way through. Now, remember, we have this saved as a preset, right? So let's say, we want to go to this photo of Bria. We want to do something similar. Now, what we want to do is get out of masking, go to presets. Give it a second because I have a million presets. We want to go to... Where did I save it? There are so many presets to be had in the world of things that I've made.
Look at all those presets.
Geez, yeah. And the problem is, I thought I saved them and named them something really clear. I could have... Hold on.
Was it under Adobe Live or folder like that?
Maybe.
Behance, maybe?
Hold on 1 second. I thought I had saved it. Let me just double check. Let's see. Oh, see, this is what happens. I was talking smack. I saved it under Behance live stream presets, but it hasn't synced over yet.
Uh-oh.
Weird. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's go to this cross-process afternoon white. This is one that I made. Let's pick one that we think doesn't look utterly wild on her face. Or even, let's keep the one we have. I really like this, actually. Let's go to plus. Let's save this as Paco preset 3. Remember, we turn off white balance, optics.
Geometry.
Yep. And we go over and now we see it. Oh, the minute
Hey,
the
it
minute
is under
they
behind. Look at that.
they showed
Check
up.
that out.
So
That's funny.
So now we go to Pocket Preset 3. And now if we want to export this, we just right click, we go to export. And then it'll show you where you want to save it. You can save it. And if folks want to download a preset from you that you want to sell them, you can just sell it here. You can make an equity through editing preset, like I made a preset pack. These are really cool ways. You can make some. So my friend, just a little fun fact. I know this part of this stream is about you increasing your revenue. So something my friend Lauren Hom taught me. Lauren Hom is a really amazing illustrator. Is she talks about the concept of a lead magnet. So why do folks want to sign up for your thing? Why do they want to get your presets? Why do they want to learn from you? You could say, hey, I have this preset for free this week. And to get that, you have to join my Discord. You have to give me your email. And then you're more likely to be able to share your resources up in the future. A lesson that I've taken a long time to learn is it doesn't make you evil to sell helpful things to your community as long as they solve a need that you've seen. In fact, you have to remember that the old marketing adage is people need to see or hear something 7 times before they're likely to make an action for it. So those t-shirts you have from Trent Levener Arms, these like fuzzy, just kick something, these fuzzy North Face pants. A lot of these things are all things that I didn't just purchase. I didn't just like one day wake up and say, oh, I really want these pants. It's something that I've seen in email marketing, affiliate marketing, with the way our phones listen to us, billboards, whatever it is. So don't be afraid to take the things you do well, like if you color grade well, and make them an option for other folks to pay for. Money is a way with which you can continue your business, and presets are a great way to do that. Now, let's say that you have no interest in selling your presets, but you know that you're fire, you're incredible at them. Another thing you can do, is you can go to share, which is top right corner. You can hear share to discover. And now let's name this Adobe Live Day 2 of 2 test. This is a test discover file to show the Behance audience how to share their work on Discover and how to make presets available for free. Now I can select category people. Let's say this is also, it's not architecture, close up, and I think that might be it. Fashion isn't really accurate. And I can also allow remixing. Then I can hit share. Give it a second, it'll submit my edit. And this is cool, so y'all can see, like, this is a good way for folks to, become familiar with your work. Now you'll see it'll pop up. I can just copy this link, and then I'm gonna put it in the chat, and see, there it is right there.
There it is, check that out, so cool.
Oh, thanks, Jack. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. We got Reynolds saying, wow, absolutely didn't know about this medium. You guys at Adobe are killing it. Thank you, Reynold. Thanks, Andre, for showing us all this. This is all some very cool, valuable stuff here.
Oh, totally. So here now, if any of you could just do me a favor, just like this or do something to it just so we know that it's working. But here, what you can do is you click it. Then, remember we talked about this yesterday, these are built to help you be able to edit more natively. So what does that mean? That means that there are tutorials, which are step-by-step, almost chapter books for you that are written as, hey, I'm a photographer. This is why I crop. This is why I use the exposure slider. This is why I did X, Y, and Z. These are kind of cool because they give you the option to save the preset. Like, so let's say you love this edit. You're like, I want to photograph a dark-skinned woman who's, in an environment that's super bright. So let me get something that will like definitely go well with her skin. So I can save this. I can see the before and after. I can also click through and be like, oh, that's what he did with the point curve. Oh, that's what he did with the color mix. I can remix the edit myself, or I can save it as a preset, and it'll save through here and say Adobe Live Day 2 of 2 test, Aundre Larrow. Click that, keep going. So that's a way to share your presets, get your word out there, get your name out there that people can do natively in Lightroom. And then, if you do that as a lead magnet, then later you can say, okay, I'm going to sell 5 or 6 presets just like the one y'all like. And you can do that through us. And shout out to Ace saying, I never knew it was easy. It is easy, right? It's kind of amazing.
It's very easy. Yeah.
Anything you want to add, dude? Am I going too wild with it?
No, not at all. I mean, I think you're showing us all the very cool new features that are available with Lightroom. Something personally that I haven't really explored with much. So I'm also learning here on this seat as well, along with the chat. So thank you for showing us all this. I mean, it's very cool. It's very intuitive. You saw you make the edits on Lightroom on the mobile device, and it syncs to the desktop. So yeah, you're killing it, man. It's very good stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm trying my best.
This is a technical question that I personally do not know the answer to, but I'm wondering if you may. It's being asked in the chat by Jorge. Are the presets for Lightroom cross-compatible with ACR, which I assume is Adobe Camera Raw? You know anything about that?
You know what? If you unshare my screen for a minute, I can try it, or we could just find out. I don't know. It's possible, but I'm not sure. But what I would tell you is probably. So here's what I think is going to happen. Yeah. I bet you. And you know what? Bump it. Let's just do it. If I share, this is going to make me share the link to this. Right. But if hold on.
Let me know if you want me to get away from your screen.
No. I don't want people thinking I'm out here making stuff up. Let's go back to what we were doing. Remember we talked yesterday about the importance of organizing things. This is exactly why. You see how this is organized through and through. Easy to find. Yeah. Easy to find the stuff. Let's go back to this photo of Bree. Let's go to our edits. Oh, shout out to Heidi. Thanks for coming, Heidi. Let's go to.
What's up, Heidi? Welcome.
Let's go to presets.
We got Shanitra in the chat saying this is great. Yes. Yeah, thank you all for joining us in the chat. Again, we got Aundre here for about the next hour. So any questions, comments, concerns, praise, put in the chat. I'll make sure to relay it to Aundre when I can. So thank you all for joining us.
Also, please follow Paco. If he doesn't have at least 5 new followers, I will come to each of her house individually and Carol and campaign for my man. All right. So let's go to, I believe it was Paco preset 3. Let's go Paco export. So now let's just do this directly to the desktop. We're going to hit export. Now I wonder, we're going to find out right now together. Oh, so it's an XMP file. So that means if we're just going to pull up any raw file. So everybody hold on for a second. This is going to be a fun ride. Hold on, everybody. Let's just pick, we're just going to pick a file, which is, I don't know how this is going to work for everybody.
It's the beauty of live. No script, folks.
Let's open this with, oh no, let's not do that. Let's do a picture of me. So if y'all remember, if anyone saw me early in the pandemic when I didn't know what was going on, I started directing things, but I also didn't cut my hair for a long time, which is a huge mistake. Let's just pick this one. Open with Photoshop, because I know that I love when it tries to make me do it. Actually, this is what we want. Me looking like I'm working. So I had the honor of directing a toothpaste commercial.
Very cool.
So let's open this and let's open it up. Let's see what happens. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I'm fairly certain it's going to work because these things are built together in unison. So let's wait a minute. Okay, so here's a photo of me. Great, leave me alone, camera raw. This is me looking on a cinema camera as we were setting up to edit.
Is that an Ari? Looks like
this is an Ari, I think, yeah. Now, Paco, I haven't used this in forever, so I'm trying to remember how to.
Adobe camera. Yeah, I don't even touch camera raw.
Hold on, load settings. Hold on.
We're good there. Oh man, we're good.
Yo, they said we couldn't do it.
Oh my goodness! Hey, shout out to Aundre.
The point is the XMP files. You can, so this is exactly what I mean. You can export a preset XMP and people could do what you made with it, right? You can do all sorts of stuff.
Shout out to Jorge for asking that, and then shout out for Aundre for checking that out live. See, told you folks, this ain't scripted. There isn't any things that we're just sticking to. We're just going with the flow, and boom, we found it out. That's what y'all get for engaging in the chat with us. Thank you.
As the great American prophet Jalen Rose says, if anybody knows him, tell him I said this. You got to give the people what they want.
What they
So
want, there it is.
give them what they need. All right, so we're gonna get out of here. But once again, camera out. If this all looks familiar to you on this right side, this is the basis with Lightroom is built. Lightroom Classic and Lightroom. All right, so we out. We out of here. Let's X this out. Let's get rid of the camera raw. Let's get out of this boy.
Just a quick time check. Check out the bottom lower right of our screen. There's an artist spotlight countdown. So in about 28 minutes, we're going to go spotlight somebody from our community and give them some love. So that's going to be in about 30 minutes.
Wow. I see that. Oh, I was just going to say that I saw one good comment, and then I came over to this comment and got overwhelmed. So let me let you do your job and stop bothering you.
No worries. Cool. So what do we want to do for the next 30 minutes until the artist spotlight? You got any other tricks in the bag you want to show us?
So many things. You thought I was done?
I was done.
Come on, bro. This man said,
you got, we could do a whole week with you, Andre, and there'd be no shortage of content.
Listen, really what's happening? I don't know if Claire will probably get mad at me, but we're trying to see if I can end up doing a live show. So if people like me, make sure that you tell people, because we try to do this all the time.
I'll put a good word for you internally.
Thank you, buddy. So what we were going to do before I started going into like 7 rows of how presets work is versions. So let's get over to versions so we can kind of get through this. Pocket, Ryan Selvey?
I do. Ryan Selvey is amazing.
Ryan, he just DM'd me, and I just wanted to, I was trying to ask him to let his people know I was live, but he's busy. He just got back to me. All right. So remember we talked about versions. And so you're probably looking at all this. You're like, whoa, how are all these versions over here? So there's named, like we've showed before, you can save versions that are like, this version I made with Paco, this version I made when I was at church, this version I made when I was at BMXing, whatever. But the real reason it's helpful, if you go to auto, you'll see that there's all these versions that are made tablet, original, and phone. And so what's really cool about these is you can track the edits you made. And what you can do is, let's say we want to prepare this for social, right? This is a question I get a lot from people. Folks, how we used to use Lightroom Classic and how I use Photoshop still sometimes is you'll crop to optimize for, remember Twitter is 2:1. And by that I mean the aspect ratio. So if I'm tweeting something out, y'all know that Twitter, like, it's best when it's like a 2:1 like this. Instagram, the 4:5 is best. Instagram stories, it's 9:16. And so each one is different about what is like the best version of it that you get. And so versions is a good way, if you make something that you really like, to not, instead of having to import the file a bunch of times or crop it or make digital copies, to all have it in one file, easy to find. So we like this edit, right? Let's make this, and let's call this full size export. Then I'm like, I want to make an export that's ready for Instagram stories. So I'm going to go to crop. I'm going to go to 9:16. And now this is going to look great on my phone. And let me save this version as IG stories. Then I'm like, let me go ahead and move this thing so it's ready for hold on. I'll do this thing so it's ready for like, oh, 1 second. Oh, I see what it's doing. 1 second, everybody. Let me have this so it's ready for Twitter, right? So Twitter is going to want it to be, I keep accidentally clicking. Okay, Twitter's going to want it to be 1:2 or 2:1. So to do that, I'm just going to, let's rotate this way. So let's see how dramatic that is. Pretty sweet.
Wow.
We're going to crop it for Twitter.
I like it. I love how you just have all these aspect ratios by heart for all the different outlets: social, Instagram, Twitter.
Hold on.
Man knows the social game.
Let's do this. Or, you know what else could be cute? Where are we at? There we go. I want to feel like the person's falling. Right? Got it. Let's create a version that's called. Everybody good? Okay, buddy. 1 second. Call this Twitter. And now you're like, okay, yeah, I normally made crops, but no, look at the difference. This is our original.
Mm-hmm.
This is our full size. This is our IG stories. This is Twitter. It's all ready to go. So you can just tap this, hit export, and save it like you normally would. Then you have all the files at your disposal in a way that you like. I made a little mistake of rotating this. Let me put this back where it was. Great. So yeah, you have everything right where you want it. Other thing that's cool about versions is you can also say like, oh, like I know that maybe you're one of those people that has like multiple Instagrams. I never really understood that, but some people it works. So let's say you have multiple Instagrams and you have one that's like black and white lovers 68, right?
Nice.
Let's actually talk about profiles for a second. We talked about profiles and presets yesterday. What you can do with profiles is if you hit, it's literally right underneath presets. There's this thing called profiles. Our profiles are changing your base colors for the image. So you can go to Adobe Monochrome. You can also go further in and pick like a specific black and white. Let's pick one that we think works really well with Breeze Skin. Black and white has many different things, so make sure you play with it, understanding how it affects shadows. This is too like aggressive futuristic for me. This is a little softer in a way that I find very lovely. Yeah, so let's go with this red. I like this red. Let's go with the red. You can also star these, so it'll populate further up for your favorites. And you can increase or decrease the intensity. Now that we have the profile set, you better believe we're gonna make a black and white version. And now we have that junk ready to go. So we have the black and white export, we have our Twitter, we have our IG stories, we have this and this, and maybe you're making a TikTok. This is a thing that happens pretty frequently. People making TikToks are like, oh, I want a bunch of photos that'll like come across for aspect ratios. You can make all the crops here and then just export them and have them in folders ready to go and plug over to TikTok or for Reels.
You're a TikToker, Andre?
I am not, but I'm not against it. Really what it is that I understand that people are doing stuff that is, best for them and their brands. And like,
just doesn't work with you.
TikTok is just overwhelming for me. That's really what it is.
It's very overwhelming. Yeah, I don't have one either. It's one less app for me to check every day, every minute. So yeah, I know it's going to be a big dark hole if I ever get into it, which I don't plan to.
You know, man, my name is my name, like Pusha T said. So let's hop out of this. And then time check. How long do we have till we're doing this auto spotlight?
We got about 20 minutes.
Okay, good. Great. So I can do what I wanted to do and not be as worried. I was worried for a second. Okay, so we've already talked about how to export your presets. We've talked about how to sell your presets. We talked about versions. We now also showed you how you can put your presets on Discover files, so folks can learn how to edit. But I did want to take some time and talk about CCX. So maybe what we want to do now is we can talk about CCX, and that can be the majority. Creative Cloud Express can be majority of our remainder of our time. So I think photographers are like, CCX, like, I can use Lightroom or whatever. But this is something that I think will be helpful for you when you're editing on the go, and also for folks that are in your mentions, in your comments that are talking about how maybe they don't have budget to have Creative Cloud yet. This could be a good way for them to start. So before I leave Lightroom, I just want to give folks an opportunity. Are there any questions anyone had? I can maybe spend the next 5 minutes answering those before we leave Lightroom for most of the rest of the time and head over to Creative Cloud Express.
No questions. Well, I do have one from Val a little bit ago. Actually, we have a few that I missed. Bad pocket.
Okay.
All right. So, is it possible to link Photoshop with Lightroom when editing photos, or is it best to use Lightroom?
Sorry, ask me that again.
Is it possible to link Photoshop with Lightroom when editing photos? I think the wording there's a little funky. I guess they're asking if
that's what caught me off guard.
Yeah. I think they're asking if you can work seamlessly with one another, which I would say yes, you can export a Lightroom photo into Photoshop pretty dang easy.
Let me show you all, and then I'll show you how it goes back and forth.
Yeah. So right there, what he just did is he right-clicked on the image. Then you have the option to edit in Photoshop. So you click on that link, and it's going to open it as a Photoshop file. Okay. And is it best to use Lightroom? Man, that's a question with many variables, but I guess it's personal preference, huh? And what you're going to be doing.
Yep. It really depends. So for me, I'm using Photoshop. You know what? Sure. Well, I'll talk about this. Why when it well, I'll talk about like what specifically I do in Photoshop. That's I'm gonna yeah. Let's take a little rabbit hole. I think that the best way to answer this question is be super frank. Um,
Fair.
okay, so now that I right clicked, you see that it opens as a TIFF file. One thing that I do often, I don't really need to do for Brie, is I'll open in Photoshop if I'm making a specific skin edit. So like if I need to do some mixer brush on someone's skin, but like, let's see. Let me just show you what I would do for mixer brush. So mixer brush is one kind of cool thing about Photoshop is if you right click into any tool, there's usually other tools underneath it. So the brush tool has pencil, color replacement, mixer. Mixer is pretty cool. So let's make a duplicate layer so we're not working on the specific layer before it. Remember that Photoshop's like a sandwich. Even if the layer on top isn't the one you can see, everything goes together to make it taste how it's supposed to. And so what we're focusing on is the top layer, or the one that's selected is one we're gonna edit on. So forgive me, you're just gonna see something that's gonna look kind of weird for a second, but I'm using the mixer brush to essentially do contouring on the subject's skin. So if this is a headshot or something for like a client that wanted retouching, but I didn't want to go through and do like each thing spot for spot, this is a good way to do it. So let me just make some pulls. You're probably like, what are you doing? Why would you ever do this? You'll see in a second, I promise. Right? All right. So we got something good going. Now, if we go over our layers, you can see opacity on color. Let me bring my opacity down to 18% or even 35%. Let's go halfway between and look at how it just ends up giving you a little bit of a smoother look on their skin. This is obviously a very quick and dirty way to do it, but this is how I often use Photoshop when I'm doing a specific skin edit. So look at this and this. Nice. It's just like a little softer on her skin. And then also, it doesn't matter as much here, but when I'm editing someone's skin, I'll always use my dodge and burn tool to just brighten around their eyes and their teeth just a little bit. If you see your before and after, it's just a little bit of a smoother experience, and the skin looks still natural, but a little bit more like pristine. That's how I describe it. So what I would do is now I would hit Command S to save. Give it a second to save. I'm not sure, just giving us a second. Then I want to close this. If I go back over to Lightroom, just give it a second. It should be able to show me even the skin tone changes I made. Oh, sorry, everybody.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it just shows up right there. So it syncs over, which is pretty rad. And so that's when I would use Photoshop instead of Lightroom. But they still like work together in unison. Photoshop is when I'm making a really specific, like pointed edit. And so it really depends. Remember, you can do a lot of this with masking. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, so now it's back. So you see how it says 2? This is pretty cool. So now you can click between let me show you. Click between the Photoshop file, which is here, and the Lightroom file. So before, it just showed you the Photoshop file, but it makes almost like a digital copy that's stacked on top. So you can find it whenever you need to, and you can reopen it in Photoshop as you wish, as well as export from Lightroom. Did that answer the question that was asked?
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Cool. What else is there, my good sir?
Let's see. There's a little bit back, a little bit ago, but we got someone asking in the chat, how was it like to direct a commercial?
Oh, okay. So directing is funny because so much of the job, like, you know, I romanticize directors. I'm like, man, I want to be like Christopher Nolan. But what you realize is like, it's so much of direction is preparation. You spend so much time like reading scripts, like boring stuff, like not like Out of that toothpaste commercial, there was a bunch of stuff that we had to say legally to make sure people know that you couldn't eat the toothpaste. Like stuff that like seems really obvious. Like some people are like, oh yeah, of course, totally can't do that.
But no, you know somebody did it at some point, which is why you have to say it.
Yeah.
And make it pretty clear.
You spend a ton of time on that, and then you're also trying to, I think that the dance that I didn't know originally, it's very similar to when you work on a big set as a photographer. Like if you're in charge of a big set, I remember earlier in my career, a client asked my agent, he was like, you know, I like Aundre's work, but do we know if he can command a large set? Which sounds funny because you're like, of course I can, but it's difficult because you have a lot of people, a lot of opinions. People are up really early. It's a 10 or a 12-hour day. And so much of it is like trying your best to manage expectations. I always say I run a please and thank you set, so we don't command each other, we request things. Then just making sure that everyone is comfortable and we have reasonable expectations. That's the biggest thing. And then also knowing that it's your job to fall on the sword first. So what it means is just, for me, I always try to hire the people I like to work with so that I can set the tone and they can maintain it. But then from there, it's really just, it's time management. It's like all the non-sexy things, because all the work you did to make it creative, you did before the shoot day.
Right.
Cool.
Very good answer. All right, so we got about 10 more minutes before that artist spotlight. So
we'll wait and do CCX. We'll basically,
okay.
I'm going to show you all that, like, remember that CCX is something that is both web-based and something you can use directly on your phone. So Paco, if we so kindly could switch back to my phone, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Bring it up, and also let me close Photoshop. Okay, so if you search CCX, you'll see it right here. This is formerly known as Spark, so you can see that all my former Spark projects are in here. I use CCX often for Instagram stories, or even like, this is a post I made on my Instagram to highlight things that we did that came out during Adobe Max. I've used CCX before, actually for that toothpaste commercial, the little deck that I made for my client. I made it directly in CCX because you can make like a micro web page in there, which is pretty rad. So let me just show you what you can do. So for example, this is something I made for my YouTube channel. Good Questions with Aundre, which is what my Discord is also called. I just want y'all to see you have access to like all these fonts and designs that you have access to on a free level, and then premium you can get like these really cool gradients. But the main thing I wanted to show you was that just like you had inversions on Lightroom, which is something we mentioned a million times now, you can take something like this when I was looking for an intern, and I can take this edit and I can reformat it for Twitter. So this is the Twitter edit. This is the Lightroom edit, and I take the original file and I don't have to do any extra work. Also often, so this thing right here, grief is love with no place to go. If y'all follow me on Instagram, you could see that a lot of times I end up using text, and all of these, every one of these I made on CCX. So this, just very simple, soft color, easy to read font. And it's easy because in CCX, which we're going to go over in a second, if you go to edit, you can go immediately to resize, and you can see it's ready for Instagram portrait, which is that 4x5. You can have it for Instagram landscape. You can go to Instagram story, and it just gets ready for you. Sorry, that felt very sham. Wow. Like I was Billy Mays and you were like, anyway. But yeah. Twitch banners, you know what I mean? We out here, and it's built, and you can also obviously do, I even like, apparently, I've never done this, but you can make an invoice template in here. I would make your invoices and keep records of them. My lovely children, I love you all. It is important. Just make sure you hear me say this. This is the only thing you hear me say here today. get a QuickBooks account, keep everything organized. You'll be better off. Make an LLC, and make sure that you separate your business money from your personal money. It will make everything better. I promise. Just trust me. We're not gonna get into any more than that, but just trust me. All right. So I'm gonna go like pretty far down. So I'm gonna show you. I'm not even like this. I know sometimes people think, oh, you're just demoing it, bruh. This is like years of stuff. In fact,
Yeah.
the hold on, the equity through editing, I first tested it here in CCX before I ended up making an entire carousel post, just to make sure that it worked this way. The reason why I ended up taking it out of CCX was to make a carousel post. Let me show y'all what I mean. You have to, honestly, I don't remember. Okay, make a carousel post. I make these in Photoshop because it's easier to just make one large file and then use the slicing tool to get it lined up properly. But originally when I was designing it, I did it in CCX so I could find a version of Gradient that I felt comfortable with. So like just showing, look at how many different fonts you have access to. I made a mood board in here for a different job, a job I've done before. Like this essentially is that kind of stick-to-itiveness glue creative tool you can use to, like, you don't even need to have it be your final thing. You could make it a PNG from it. Like sometimes what I do is, sometimes I'm making a deck for a client and they want to see like a swath of my work. And since CCX integrates with Lightroom, I can just have it populate all these photos. I can export it as one large PNG that's spaced out, and I can smack it onto a Keynote and export it. So I just wanted to take our first little bit of this time to show y'all the fact that I've used this for years. Like, I think one of the first things I ever used it for, let me see if I can find this for y'all, is, yeah, there's a treatment, wait for it. For the folks that play, because I even talking about this, once again, evenly spaced out images. For the folks that play.
Is that a Instagram mockup? Like an Instagram grid mockup?
It was a grid mockup that I used for a deck. But what I was going to say was this is even a YouTube thumbnail.
I know that photo.
Yeah, right. And these are all things I've used in the past. So things that you can keep. These are all my YouTube thumbnails. And just like I talked about with edit, I can reposition these to be used for other things. The thing I wanted to point out to y'all that I love to do is whenever folks ask what my Nintendo Switch friend code is, I just have this file that I'll just export and have it ready to go. It looks a little better than like tweeting it out, and I just think it looks kind of nice. And there's also like opportunities for little logos. So let's just, how does this work? You can hit this little plus at the bottom, and you can start with a solid color, a photo library, videos, design assets, all sorts of stuff. Or what you can do is you can start from this like immense library of potential things. So I'm going to, let's do, hold on, someone I really love. Let's go to resumes, because I don't think folks think about their resumes enough. Let's talk about, let's look at Ashton Barnes. Ashton looks like
Ashton Barnes,
a positive gentleman. Let's hit remix, and remix lets us make edits to this, right? So first, I don't know how I feel about this photo. So let's replace the photo by double tapping, go to photo library. Let's just pick like let's pick this meme photo that I love so much. Let's throw Conceited in there. Right? I'm just kidding. Let's pick an actual photo. Here, we'll go down to my Lightroom edits, go to Lightroom pass. Let's pick, that's not exactly what we want. Hold on, everybody. So what happens when you give you the option of picking something perfect. Let's take this photo of Joseph. Wait a second. Great. And you'll see that the photo of Joseph removed the background. How did it do that? Did. I'll show you after we do our artist spotlight. But we'll take that photo. Then let's change this because Ashton Barnes is his name. Let's do.
Man, I got resumes. I got presets. Got it all.
Okay. Let's say live stream extraordinaire. I forgot how to spell that. Great. Oh, it's gone. Hold on. Made a mistake on these. Oh no. Oh no. Actually, that doesn't look that bad. But that wasn't what I was trying to do. So let let me just add a new text, new thing of text. I think the problem I had is I accidentally made the text too big. So let me add text. Let's do live stream store.
Thank you, spell
Here.
check.
Yeah, sorry guys. I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. My overall spelling is usually good, but that's a
No,
funny
I
word.
think we're all like that. So
okay.
No apologies needed, my friend.
If I pull this way, I can make it into one line. And then let me also change my size. Make it a little smaller. Little design tip that one of the few I know everybody is you want to use a sans serif font as your readable. So the one that everyone's looking at, your like the bolded stuff at the top, that can be a little bit more beautiful, but the stuff that really says the important information, like you're a copywriter, when did that happen, like where, that stuff should all be in sans serif so it's easier to read. And also one fun fact I like to put in for everybody, this is Dover, Delaware. Make sure you put in where you live. You don't have to put your exact city, but often folks are trying to hire you, especially for photographers. If you're getting editorial jobs, they want to know where you are so they can hire you for that. Taco, what's our time check, buddy?
We got about 4 minutes.
Okay, great. So now, let's say we don't love this all the way. What we could do is we can double click on this and go to style, and we could just rotate styles, which I think is ideal for this because we're trying to have everything stay the same. I don't love that, but just so you can see it, what you can do instead is you can double tap, hit done, and you can go to font, and you have access to all of Adobe fonts, which is pretty rad. So we can get something heavier like Bebas. We can go something like Minion. You can even add your own fonts, or you can go through ones that, like, these are all fonts I've used before, like Utopia. Let's do Utopia Regular. I think Utopia Regular looks nice. Once again, I'm not sure that it's the most helpful thing because keeping in mind how people read it, they're going to zoom in and stuff. Oh God, I keep doing this on accident. But I want to make sure that they can read it as easily as possible. So things that have the sans serif is something that doesn't have a little tail to it. See how all these are like, even underneath, I just try to click with my mouse. You can see how for live stream, it says live stream extraordinaire. Those are all like very weighty, heavy letters. You can see all the way through. Your reasoning for that is it's easier for you to see sans serifs through web. And if you even look at like how newspapers are, they're just a little easier. The little curls can make it harder for you to distinguish when one letter ends and one starts. The next thing that you can keep in mind is, hold on. So we have something we generally like, but let's say we don't like the colors, right? We can choose every color distinctively, or we can take the color palette we have right now and just rotate it. Now, many of these look horrible. I wouldn't say that this is ideal, but we can also change to something more decorative, or we can keep going. And one thing that's really helpful for you here is if you do like something here, you can keep those colors saved in brand, which we'll talk about after our artist spotlight. But let's go to something that we think we won't hate. That's okay. It's pretty good, actually.
Works. Yeah.
Something not super hard to read. Great. So we have something. This makes me feel like Paco is some sort of like painter's assistant, but you know, we'll do what we can. You can also add animations, like a fine art assistant.
Oh, painter assistant. Right?
Yeah. Sure. You can also change your layout. I'm not sure that's ideal for here, but that's like a little bit based on a resume. The cool thing, once again, about CCX is like, if you start from home, you can build things from scratch, or you can say, man, I got to make a flyer when I'm in college, right? I'm trying to make something that looks cool, something that gets straight to the point. So I want like really clear font that goes through. So like this virtual talent show, you can remix this and you can get into the work so much faster, right? You can change this font, be like, all right, let me just go to something that like, okay, that feels a little too childish, but let's go to something like that's kind of heavy. It feels like the big varsity games coming up. I'm not in high school anymore. So let's just Let's just delete that. Let's make this bigger. And you could even make a QR code, save it as a JPEG or a PNG, and place it right into the image by adding, let's hit delete, you can add, you can go to add photos or design assets. Once again, so let's say we wanted to add a photo. I don't know if I necessarily love that, but we can even change the background. Sorry, hold on. So I feel like this is just slightly not straight. Am I tripping? I don't know. Okay. So what I could do is I can take a photo. I'm sure Paco's gonna move. I'm sure we're like right at time, so let me not take too much
All good.
longer.
Whenever you're finished with this, we can get into it. No rush.
Let's take this cute photo of this cat, this little kitty.
Kitty cat.
Add it. There's an add to collage, right? And then I can add this as my background. So maybe this lets me know that this is going to be like a talent show, like a pet talent show. Hold on. One thing that I'm forgetting to do that I'm trying to remember now. There we go. Just make this my background. So now you look at this and you're like, oh, whoa, pet talent show. Okay. I know I brought my ferret to college for some reason, so let me bring it to this thing.
Did you really?
And yeah, this looks kind of funny, but it's all about what you need, right?
Yeah. Very cool. All right, so should we get into the artist spotlight?
Let's do that, and then we can get back to this, head over to CCX on the desktop, and keep folks feeling good. While you're starting to pull it up, I'm going to pop in.
So I'm going to have you pull it up. I'm going to give it to you in
cool.
the chat since you're already sharing your screen. So
Right.
share your desktop, and I'll send it to you through our chat, and then you just pull it up, all right?
Okay.
So I got to grab the links. Just give me 1 second.
Hey.
All right. So I'm going to give it to you now in that chat box. Boom. All right, go ahead and pull that up.
Oh, that chat box, man, I was thrown.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we could do it in the Behance chat box too.
That's cool. I want to surprise the person of the day. Ooh.
There you go. All right. So
Shout out to Matt from Germany. Matt, let's talk about these kicks first. What's going on here, my G?
there we go. So
Those are some
Matt,
beautiful
congratulations. You are the artist spotlight, my friend. We're going to look at your work on Behance. Do you know this person, Andre, by any chance?
No.
Okay,
I never
cool.
even. Oh, I was gonna say I've never been to Germany. But that's not true. Been to Germany one time.
He's in Hamburg. I've actually been to Hamburg before. That is a very cool
Yeah?
place. Oh,
What was that like?
It was good. We went there for a show. It was while I was studying abroad, and I didn't spend enough time there. We're only there for a night and a half, and I feel like you could easily spend many, many days there. Very cool city.
Oh, first of all, let me point this out. Is it Matisse? Matt?
Great question.
Happy to let us know what your name is. Happy to say it properly.
Yeah, if you're in the chat, let us know how to phonetically pronounce that correctly, so we're not butchering it. But Matisse, yeah.
First of all,
I think
Matisse,
it might be right.
I love that you are taking a lot of photos of it seems like people that you know. This is how I started as a photographer. Spending time capturing what you have access to is the best way for you to become better because you can revisit things over and over. You don't always have to take things that are smiling. Sometimes it's nice to get just different looks, different things. And you'll notice sometimes in those in between when you position someone, that moment when they're psyching themselves up to get in the position you put them in, or when they're trying to adjust themselves, are the periods when you can get a really honest photo of them. So things I really like are that. So let's start with let's see what's in black and white too. What else do we have? Nice. You're out in a little field. Nice. Watch out for ticks. Love the Nikes. I'm not kidding, man. Ticks are serious, bro.
Ticks are no joke. Yeah.
I don't play with that you're getting out at sunset. I also like that you write the camera in the place because that makes it accessible for other people. Lovely's depth of field here. I like that you tried the black and white versions is good for that. Remember, something that I always find helpful is so it seems like you have a couple where like the subject's eyes are just a little closed. For the Fuji that you're using, if you switch it to burst, And when you see a photo you like, take the one that you're sure you decisively are like, this is dope, and then just continue to take a couple more just to make sure that you don't miss a beautiful setup in that kind of split second people are blinking. It can be really difficult to take a great photo of folks, especially in a group, because often one person's body or eyes are off. Here you can see like you're taking these right at sunset, and since these folks are a little bit wider, a little brighter, that light's coming in so much that they're hot. So underneath, like right here where the sun isn't hitting, they're fine, the exposure. But further up, you're seeing that it's like really hard to see what's going on their faces right on the edges. So like what's happening right here is, depending on where you have your camera pointed, if you have your camera, if you have the, oh my gosh, the sensor pointed at this woman's jacket or this person's black coat, it's going to say that it's too dark. Remember we talked about yesterday, our phones or our cameras are all attempting to get us to 18% gray. And to do that, it's looking at something and saying, this is close to that. It's gray, or it's too bright or too dark. When you point at something that's dark, it's going to say this is overexposed or underexposed. So if you pointed at this jacket, which is what I think happened, you're ending up with exposures on their faces that are way too bright. Like you can't, like there's so much brightness on her face, there's no detail there. Even if you were to darken your exposure all the way to -100, this would still be a white and orange spot. So just keep that in mind when you're taking these, so that like here's better off, because you can tell that, because you can see more detail in the jacket and more detail on their face. But something else working against you is you have a white jacket, a black jacket, and the sunset. It's a lot going on. So it's hard for the camera to spot meter, because it's trying to adjust for all of it at once. And remember that lenses and cameras are like poorer versions of lenses and cameras are poorer versions of our eyes that can't adjust as readily to multiple inputs and multiple light source and all that stuff.
Nice.
What do you think, Paco? Anything you want to
add? No, I think you pretty much said what I would say. So very good stuff. Let's look at these kicks though. What's going on with these?
So I like these blazers a lot. Go ahead.
No. I'll say, yeah, I mean, you got a lot of kicks too, so I'm curious to know what you think of these, because you probably have more nick for this than I do.
I have some blazers right here. Shout out to the blazers. They're great shoes. Okay, well, actually, the shoes I'm most excited about right now, we don't talk about this, are the Space Hippies. These are great.
Space Hippies?
Yeah, they're the like recyclable bottom shoes. And like these I haven't worn yet because they're like mesh and it's cold as anything in New York City right now, so I won't be wearing those. But something for y'all with these. So I love how you have these suspended. I'm not sure how you have these suspended, but the thing I would warn you is you can tell you're using a super shallow depth of field here, and you do not want to do that all the way, because what we're doing is we have focus right here. You can see the stitching really up close, but then the minute you get past this first stitch, you start losing softness. And if it's product photography, excuse me, what you want to do is you want to be able to see all of it, right? So like, for example, just so you can see that I'm not out here just saying stuff. If we're on the Nike site, I'm not even sure I'm allowed to show, so I'll just go quick. Why would there not be shoes like immediately? Okay.
It's clearly a campaign.
Oh my gosh.
What is going on?
Just show me the first shoe you can. Let's go.
Just give me a shoe.
Jeez, what are we doing?
Right there.
Oh my gosh, guys. All right. So you notice that these are all photographed in studio. This is something that people do all the time. This is a viable thing for you photographers if you're interested in it. But you'll notice that even on these, the aperture is high enough that you can see all the details, because folks are wanting to know what they're going to get ahead of time. And even these are like these beautiful, like angled shots.
Wow. Just
like the one that you had. I don't know why this. Okay. You want to make sure that you're using a high enough aperture number,
right? Because
essentially, the higher the aperture number, the more your depth of field is larger. Basically, what that means is if you look at that, if you think about the original photo I was showing you of Brie, or even this photo of my face, like we are accustomed to wanting shallow depth of field because we want to show that we have a nice camera. We want to show that there's like that we've created depth, but it's not always necessary. And here, for this item, we want to be able to see all the edges of it. So here you can tell the focus is a little bit soft. You either
Yeah,
because your
just a little
focus
bit.
is a little off or because you cropped in. So this is something that you can avoid by using a higher aperture number. Sometimes if we're using like early in your career, you might have like a kit lens. What that means is the more that you, like if you don't have enough light, the lens is going to get soft on the edges. So this could be a good time to rent a lens, try something out. Or lastly, like make sure that it's on a tripod so that no matter what's going on, the shake doesn't impact it. But I will say
Nice.
this again. I just like that you have all these. I want to be here with your friends, right? You can pose them in different ways. Maybe, and what you'll learn is when you get, if you show them these photos after the fact, you can be like, what did you like about this? They might say, oh, I love how, like, I love this pose, but I think my face looks weird. I love my face, or I think my body looks weird. And it's just good because if you take that and extrapolate it, and also I like that you're taking photos in places that, you know, people go every day, right? This is pretty cool. I like this. Um, so yeah, I think that I like what you're doing. Also, don't be afraid to try things. I like that you have pets. I like that you have cars. Like try a bunch of stuff, y'all. It's ideal. Any
Nice.
oh, Reverb says I paid for my biggest speeding ticket in Maryland. I'm not sure what to do with that information. Maryland seems like a nice place,
Yikes.
I guess. I don't know. I've been to Maryland
Yeah,
like one
never been
time.
there. I don't know. Apparently, you got big speeding tickets there. But yeah, no, I thank you for giving all that feedback, Andre. I think that's very valuable feedback. And yeah, I mean, obviously, getting in the mind of somebody's been doing this for a very long time. So very good stuff. All right, super quick time check. Again, everybody give Mattis. I really hope we're saying that right. I don't think he was in the chat to correct us, but everybody, make sure you give him a follow, throw him some love.
Hey
He's
man,
a
I'm gonna
very
follow my boy
talented
right now.
photographer. Yeah, let's do it. So give him a follow. He's got very good stuff going there. Yeah, very good stuff. So we have about, what is it, 19 minutes? No, 15 minutes. I was an English major for a reason. I can't do math either. So we got about 15 minutes. So why don't we do maybe some other things in Creative Cloud Express, but also don't forget, Andre, we do have that Creative Cloud subscription to give. And I think what would be fun to do for that is maybe ask a question. I'm going to leave that up to you, but let's ask a question, maybe something relating to the live stream or something totally random. And we'll have
Oh,
people answer that question, and then we'll just pick some random person that answers it. Could be right or wrong answer, but as long as you're just giving an answer there or just engaging with us, you are automatically submitted to possibly enter that. So what do you think a good question is, Andre? If you can't think of one, then I can help out too. I got one.
oh,
I got one that's it relates to day one.
okay. All right,
Uh,
go for it.
but do you have
Go
one
for it.
though?
No,
Because
no, no,
this is
no,
just a
no, no,
okay.
you know, stop saying it.
All right. Okay. So why don't we ask this question? What was the stuffed animal character that Andre showed on day one that I completely
Oh,
did not know what it was? How about that?
oh, oh.
If folks remember, that way we'll know if you're with us for 2 days. So we'll
Oh, wait.
wait for those answers to come in. It'll be about. It's going to be a little bit of a delay until they actually hear the question. But why don't we keep going with something on Creative Cloud Express, and then I'll keep an eye out on the answers. And again, it doesn't have to be right or wrong, but go ahead and give a guess, give an answer, and yeah, we'll see who wins.
So first, the thing I wanted to show y'all, now that we're on the desktop, remember, CCX is a free tool, my G's. It is free, and here are the basic things you can do with it. You can not only make social media designs, you can make designs for print, you can make all sorts of stuff, but you can also do some pretty basic edits that are really rad. You can convert something to a GIF. So the folks that love to make memes, a really quick way to do that, you can import a video and create it into a GIF. You can also resize an image. You can convert something from a JPEG to a PNG or vice versa. You can change the speed. You can also convert something to an MP4. You can use that sometimes like if you make a video, like you export it in QuickTime and you're getting ready for, you're trying to put it on Twitter, sometimes Twitter will be like, oh, it has to be an MP4, it has to be MOV, or Instagram will do that. You can convert it quickly using CCX. So you're not like, you know, sitting around waiting for some sort of transference that's going to take a while, or for a different file you don't have access to, or a, you know, transfer thing. So another thing you can do is you can also convert a PDF, edit text and images. You can combine files together. So for example, something that I've done in the past is I will finish a job for a client and they will ask me for like all my expenses. So I'll have my invoice on the top sheet. and then I'll take every expense and combine them all in CCX into one thing, and then send it to them all together as one file. So
Very cool.
It's kind of like a funny is the right word. It is a tool for creatives that is super, super helpful. So what I'm going to first show you how to do is remove background. This is super helpful in case you have any need to take a photo, remove the background. So here's a photo I took on an iPhone 11 Pro, I want to say. Oh no, this was a 10R, I think. And you see immediately, let me remove the background. Let's go to customize. Now you're like, wait, hold on. Whoa, it's off the Photoshop engine. Things move quickly. Ask Miles. Also, Miles is not the right answer, but I shout out to Jorge for saying that. Appreciate it. Paddington, also love that as an answer.
Paddington,
so
that's a great movie.
You'll see the edge is soft, and that's because I used portrait mode on this, so that was going to be soft. You can see it got almost everything. Just on the edges, it can end up being a little bit intense on his face. So what we can do is I can edit the cutout. I can go to restore or replace. So remember, just like before when we were earlier editing on the phone or on Lightroom on the desktop, we were doing the masking tool. It's a similar thing. So we can hit restore. And you can see I can make the size of the brush smaller or bigger. What I'm doing to do that is I've got my little Logitech keyboard here, and I've been using the bracket keys. That big.
Hold up, I got you. There we go.
I've been using the bracket keys to change that. That's a tool that is the same across Photoshop, Lightroom, and even CCX. By tapping these bracket keys, I can make my brush smaller or bigger. So I make my brush smaller because remember, we always want to be more accurate. And now let's get back to this. And you'll see, let me get this nice and big. Hold on, everybody. Okay, so you can see his face nice and big. My brush is nice and small. Hold on. I swear my computer picks the worst times to be like, should I not work? Look at this. What are you doing? Let me close.
It's thinking.
It's thinking too much. Let's close this Nike thing. Close this. Okay. So make you a little smaller. And notice how now the green is what I'm going to add. Press and let go, and then now you see that that part of his skin is back. Now, I don't think I did a good enough job. So let me just bring those edges so I kind of split the difference. And now you'll see that I got a little bit more of his face. It looks a little bit more like him. And I can go through and do this here. Like you'll see that it kind of missed his finger a little bit. So let me just go back to restore. So I want to see his knuckle, but we're in good shape. We're almost there. So I see his knuckle. And now we have a cutout that we feel pretty good about, right? Let's make this a little smaller so we can see the total guy. But like now I can make this cutout and I can turn it into a poster for my skate club. I'm not in college anymore, so let's say like my young adult skate club. I'm trying to have Paco come hang out with me, right? So
there we go.
Now I'm going to change my edit image. I'm going to change my background. Or even let's go to design. And now I can put me, this is probably a little better. No, actually I lied. Let's go back. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to this. Select this image, remove from background. Because it's non-destructive, so it keeps all the edits.
We do have a lot of answers from the question, though, so I think whenever you're done with this, we'll go ahead and announce the winner.
Nice. So I saw that someone just put, that's a lot. Okay, so now we have it. Now we have this big background thing. So let's take this edit. We can add a little filter to it. Let's make this something crazy like duotone. And then let's add in some text. Let's say anti-social social skating club.
Anti-social social skating club. I love it.
Right, so it's for the anti-social folks. Now we know that this gray isn't going to work, right? So instead, let's change this color to something that'll stick out. We can do the yellow. I know this looks bad, everybody. I'm just trying to show you all the things that will work.
It's getting there though. I mean, this
Um,
works.
what we can do is also, if you're like, oh God, this is too much, um, we can also, did I lose that? Where'd you go, buddy? You can change the alignment of it if you want it to be like a semicircle. My only problem with this is I think it's too small. So
Yeah,
if you do a
agreed.
whole circle, that could be interesting, because then you can make it really big. And then the design element of like a circle to a circle to a circle is kind of interesting. We can also say, okay, well, we like circle touching circle touching circle, but the white isn't doing anything for us. So let's change the color to something yellow on this side, and then let's change this color to something blue on this side. And now we have something that like remotely resembles a poster. Now I know that posters are great, but we probably need to put like a little additional information here. Because if not, no one's going to know where this is. So we could say meet at Rainbow National Park in Utah on Feb 28th at sunrise. Now the white's not going to work, so let's, you know, once again, pick a color that works. We can also use the eyedropper to go ahead and pick this one, this yellow again
Bless
for us.
you.
Sorry about that sneeze, everybody. Ooh, that one really crept up on me. And let's bring our sizing down a little bit. We might even want to change the font to something that looks a little different from this. But essentially, like, you have the option to really like not only be as creative but informational as possible. This is a tool I use often to share my work, especially on social. And also, I didn't know, shout out to Val. If you cosplay, shout out to you for all the hard work that you do, because cosplaying is not easy.
I think Val does cosplay, so
dude,
yeah, shout out to Val. All right, cool. So we gotta say our winner for the Adobe Creative
shoot,
Cloud
we're like almost out of time. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we got like 2 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it here. Ready? Drum roll, please. The winner is Matthew Pearson. Matthew Pearson, if you're in the chat, you just won a Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. So keep an eye out on your Behance, because we are going to share that profile to our Adobe Live team. They will be reaching out, most likely on direct messages on Behance. All right, so congratulations, and thank you all for engaging with us. Check it out. There's the winner right there. Boom. Yeah. Oh, man, I love it.
Yo, so so apparently we woo, that last 20 minutes went quick. Sorry.
Yeah, it's live streaming operates in a different dimension, honestly. It goes by like that.
Well, do I have like 90 seconds left?
We got about a minute. Yeah, we got like a minute and a half.
Okay, great. Hey, so thank you everyone for spending time with me today. I know we didn't get to everything ever, but it's really important to me that you know a couple things. First of all, that you are talented, you are valuable, and the work that you do not only will continue to get better because it's how you express yourself, but it will also continue to touch the people around you. You have influence as not only a creative, but as a person. Second, thank you to Val. Thank you for Paco. Thank you to everyone that showed up. You can find me on the internet all over the place. We'll drop those links in there. Please join my Discord if you can. But really importantly right now, keep the people of Ukraine in your thoughts and your prayers. Make sure you're reading reputable sources. And lastly, I'm running a fundraiser for the Black Trans Fund or Black Trans Foundation. I forget what the word is on my Instagram right now. So I will match any donation up to $1,000. Please do that if you can, and give Paco, give Val some love. Thank you for your time today. I am better off because of all of you. Thanks.
Did you want to share the link for the fundraiser again, Andre? Do you have that up? Maybe we can
I don't. Oh, hold on. It is in my Instagram
story. Show your screen just last minute. Yeah. There it is.
It's right here. So if you go to my Instagram story at Aundre, it is right there.
Yes,
shout out to Matt. Matt got it. And also, once again, appreciate you, everybody. Please be safe. Thank you for the links, Val. While Paco's locking up, I'm just gonna put some other Mark just commented and said they won yesterday. How do they get a contact info? I don't know, bro. That's a Paco question.
Mark, we're going to be reaching out to you. The thing is, there was a lot of Mark Hadleys that have the same icon by default. So I believe we tracked you down, and the team does have your info off the beginning of the stream. So we'll be reaching out, my friends. Thanks for commenting again. Yes, and again, thank you all for joining us. Stick around because we do have the creative encore of the Adobe XD challenge. And then tomorrow we'll be back with a full day of masterclasses with the evangelist. So that's always loads of information. I want to thank again Aundre for being on the stream. Aundre, thanks again for bringing awareness to obviously the big thing that's going on today. And thank you for taking a moment of silence to acknowledging that. I think it's big. It's not really right, I think, just to pretend it's not happening. I think it's going to affect all of us. It's affecting a lot of people on the other side of the world. So thanks again, Aundre, for bringing that up. And thank you all for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. I do love coming onto the camera and not just being behind the scenes here and there. So it's always great to interact with you all. We do have an awesome community here. We have amazing people that we bring on the show. So thank you all for joining us. Couldn't do this without you all.
All right, everybody. Be easy.
Be easy. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow / shortly on the XD Creative Encore. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.